Just woke up from a nap a little bit ago. And I'm working on my second cup of tea to try and wake up. Maybe I shouldn't even be doing a Fez. I don't know. The Fez. The weekly vlog where I simply talk into the camera about stuff. Some people call it whining. I don't think my voice has a whining intonation. Does it? I mean, I might complain about stuff. That's like Andy Rooney. Oh, Andy Rooney's retiring. Andy Rooney of 60 Minutes goes on there each week and goes, you know what bothers me? Let's see if this helps wake me up some more. I might roll a cigarette and smoke on camera. It's a bad habit. I need to quit. I need to start trying to quit again. Alright, time to don the Fez. Greetings, fellow citizens. This is Citizen Kong, and welcome to another Fez Night. Tonight's Fez Night shall be called, in a word, Fez. That popped into my head, and I was wondering about the sound of it, or where did I pick that up from? I looked it up, like to say, in a word, and like, let's say you go to, somebody said, how was the play? And you said, in a word, terrible. And, apparently, according to the Merriam-Webster Online Dictionary, that's an American idiom, and which I was kind of surprised, but it must be one of our better idioms because it sounds kind of like cool. How was your day? In a word, it sucked. And apparently you can use two words, and it still kind of works, but I think, in a word, terrible. Anyway. Yeah. I wrote some stuff to talk about. Oh, I want to thank Mr. Egg God for recommending Stephen Fry's new program, documentary. I think it's a 5-part series called Planet Word. And I watched the first one. And, when you really... It's one of those programs where it makes you think, the complexities of language. And how just he talks about just how this little certain switch in a DNA strand gives human beings the ability to speak. And as it points out, all animals communicate in one way or another. But the idea of language, it's something that's not hardwired into us. We're not born saying certain words, whereas animals don't need to be taught to make a certain sound for, to sound an alarm. They don't need to talk. This is the sound we make when we have an alarm, Like you kick a dog, it goes, aye! They don't need to be taught that. When was the last time you kicked a dog, huh? So I want to thank you for that. He recommended the BBC iPlayer, but it's blocked in the colonies. So I found it on BitTorrent, and I don't know if all are available yet. I think 1 and 2 is available, and I downloaded 2, and I'm going to watch that one later. He talked a little bit about the story of the Tower of Babel, or Tower of Babel. I always said it Tower of Babel, but I could be wrong. Those of you that are not familiar with it, it's in the Old Testament. There's some king who wants to basically challenge God. He gets all these men, all these workers from everywhere, and he starts building a tower, and he starts building it towards the sky. And the vision, the memory of it that sticks most in my mind is the John Hughes version in the movie called The Bible. And there's this strange looking dude with all this makeup and everything, and there's all these workmen building this tower, and it keeps going higher and higher and higher and higher. In some of the paintings, it's represented as a ziggurat, which is one of those things I learned from taking art history. One of the early forms predated the pyramid, the ziggurat. And cool sounding name, huh? And got distracted there. Yeah, I forgot to turn off my screensaver. Yeah. So, He's building a tower, okay? And prior to the Tower of Babel, every human being spoke the same language. You know, it all came this magical root language from the Garden of Eden. And by the way, there was an interesting thing on Planet Word about the brothers Grimm. They were the first ones to start doing the research into what would be the common language. The very, like, if you look at languages as branches of a tree, what was the trunk? What was that center language, which all these European languages, you know, branched from German, French, Italian, etc., etc. And that was interesting. I might go back and rewatch that. But I do find words and language fascinating. So anyway, everybody spoke a common language. And in the film version of the Bible, the king gets the very top, you know, and he climbs up, and he's like up there, and he's like in the heavens, and he takes this arrow, and a bow and arrow, and he shoots it into the sky as if like shaking his fist at God, and then God like smites them, you know, and when the dust, and I think the tower even kind of fell or started falling apart, I'm not sure, and as the dust settled, you see all these workmen like blah, 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 and they don't understand each other. They don't. And then they all scatter their separate ways. So that's the story of how when humans started speaking different languages, which is kind of a neat story, I think. And like a lot of stuff in the Bible, I would take that as a story. And as a kid in Sunday school, I thought, well, why would that be a problem? Why did God have people speak different languages? And in the show Word Planet, it basically says, it talks to a UN translator, that it's a glorious thing, that language is a big part of identity, for cultural identity. And you know, it makes sense, of course, and they look at it as a glorious thing. But for the UN example, they need all these translators, and the question is, could mankind cooperate better or cooperate easier if we all spoke a common language? And as a child in Sunday school, I thought, God must not want men to cooperate. God must not want men to get along. God does not want men to organize in a group and achieve something big, like building that tower. And it made me wonder, like, why? What, you know? And because to me, eventually the goal would be that our planet would eventually be at peace through governments cooperating and working out their differences through a global court of some sort. As I got older, I realized, the John Birch Society and stuff, that and maybe that's based on a Christian or Judeo-Christian idea, that God doesn't want us to be organized, that anything like any sort of world cooperation is a bad thing. Somehow that it's evil. And evil. I like saying that instead of evil. But yeah, I normally say evil. And hence you have this thing like the New World Order and the Illuminati and all these conspiracy things, and the idea, there was people against the decimal system because they thought it was the devil's work. The idea of having one common unit weights and measures for the whole, units of weights and measures for the whole globe, that somehow was a thing of the devil. So anyway, that's my thoughts on that. I know, I was just thinking about it. I had to get it off my chest because I was watching that Planet Word and that whole Tower of Babel thing came up again. Hence the word to babble. It might have something to do with Babylon, but I think it has to do with the Tower of Babel or Babel. And hence, when the people couldn't understand each other, it was babbling incoherently. Yeah. So, I'm a big Stephen Fry fan. Thanks. And at babble.m4v, I was reading some more out of the QI book, and it was interesting. I was reading it said, and it's funny how they do. They try to throw you off, and where it's not right in front of me, but I was reading it earlier before I started recording this, um, just skimming it. What sophisticated mechanism allowed the first landing of a plane on a ship, essentially an aircraft carrier, and according to this, it was the British. What was it? The HMS Furious. Oh, please don't make me go look it up. I don't want to have to go thumbing through the book again. But anyway, but essentially, this guy, it was a Sopwith pup. Sopwith, remember the Snoopy's famous Sopwith camel? That was a British biplane, World War II, World War I, I'm sorry, old prop-driven biplane. And he accomplished it with a Sopwith pup, and he figured that if the ship was going into the wind, and the stall speed of the plane, that somehow the combination of those two things, he could get the plane to hover over the ship. And they dropped the special ropes from the plane, and as it was hovering, men reached out and grabbed it and pulled it down. And then later, the sophisticated mechanism is the human hand, which I think is very misleading, but and then it goes on to talk a little bit about the three ships. It was the Spurious, whatever. I shouldn't even be saying anything because I didn't commit it to memory, but it's a very interesting book, the QI thing. And later he thought, oh, this is impractical using human hands to pull me in. So he gave the pilot, the guy who was doing this experiment, gave strict orders not to have people pull him in. And the plane lost control and landed in the water, and the pilot was knocked unconscious and he drowned. Well, it's not funny. But leave it to the Brits. It's funny, like they invented the first ejector seat and the jet engine. And what's always kind of fascinating about me, there's a lot of inventions that the Brits did first, but they weren't able to get it. And look, you got to give them credit. They did it first, okay? But they weren't quite able to get it completely dialed in. Like their first version of the ejector seat was like really, really rough. And it took like the Germans and the Americans to perfect it, and like that's one example. Probably the jet engine is another example. The first jet engine was designed by a Brit. Okay, enough of my Anglophile stuff, but I thought that was interesting that the first successful landing of an aircraft on a ship at sea was a British endeavor. Anyway. Yeah, any of you, I know Angie and I watched that show called Warehouse 13. Hello, Angie. Nice screen there. Yeah. I know somebody else made the joke about screaming in bed and all that. But, yeah, weird. Is there something wrong with me if I find a woman scream in a way a turn on? Does it trigger some sort of a primitive impulse in men? Am I the only one? Not that we like hearing women scream. I don't think so. Anyway. But we're getting back to Warehouse 13. So this last episode of Warehouse 13 that I watched on Hulu, there was a scene with this woman, an agent, in a bar. And the exterior of the bar, you can see the sign says The Alibi. That's like one of my bars that I used to go to. It's very like, it's not quite within walking distance, but it's a very, very short. I mean, I could walk there, but it'll be a long walk. But it's basically in my area, and it used to be one of the bars that I would go to with friends, The Alibi. So I kept getting a kick out of seeing that exterior shot of The Alibi. Isn't that a great name for a bar? It's like a really, really cool name, The Alibi. It's a very, very old bar too, San Diego. It's a San Diego institution, The Alibi. I think the claim to fame as the oldest continually established bar, is the Waterfront. I mean, it might have changed owners and stuff, but I think the Waterfront in San Diego makes the claim. And it's a pretty neat little bar. It's very small, but it's pretty cool. It's down there by the harbor. I remember going there. My first time going there was for after a night of partying. My friends, my party animal friends at the time, we went there for. Essentially, I remember having a Bloody Mary in the morning to take a bit of the hair of the dog, you know. Anyway, so I got a kick out of that. Oh, darn, we went past 15 minutes. Okay, well, this is going to go on the RF channel. It's going to be the worst Fez Night ever. Drink more tea? Should I roll a cigarette on camera? Hey, yeah, I don't know. I'm having an urge for a smoke. I haven't had a smoke. I haven't had a smoke in hours. In hours, I tell you. So, I want to mention about Mary Beth Israel. Mary Beth Israel. There was a video uploaded on that channel last night, and I was having my snacks. And I made a video a while back, shortly after the Mary Beth channel first appeared. And in it, I made the video and I uploaded it, and it said on private, but you can see the date that it was uploaded. In case somebody goes, I had you fooled all along, la 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 la. Mary Beth Israel, obviously by now to everybody, it's a phone. She's a phony. It's a phony channel. It's fake. And so I made a video a while back saying Mary Beth Israel is a fake, because later when I did announce that it was a fake, that people couldn't say, oh no, you were fooled. Don't pretend you didn't know all along. And I could take the video off private or whatever if somebody wants to see it. It's kind of lame, but I just say Mary Beth is a fake. This is not a real channel, something along those lines. So I think with the Jew thing and the military thing, and then later the disgustingness of the videos. Okay, so the video that was uploaded last night. Okay, so the Jew thing and the military thing, and some of the other just weird stuff. It just Jeff Davis of Nigel Cromwell. There's a sort of this, there's like a taint. I think it's, yeah. That's one of the creepiest things a guy can do on the internet, is to create an account or whatever, go into a chat room and pretend to be a woman. The first time I ever heard the term bottom feeder is my friend Nick said, men that do that are the bottom feeders of the internet. And so, yeah, Jeff was pretending to be Mary Beth Israel. I'm sticking my neck out, okay? If somebody else, Cyber said it first, Cyber 9 Rounder, and usually he's wrong about these things, but I tend to agree with him. But I've known this channel was a fake even longer, till I arrived at that conclusion. But last night there was a video uploaded. It was taken down for disgusting content. And you can hear Riley's voice in it. Jeff is trying to throw us off, trying to make it look like it was Riley's channel all along. But we know Riley well enough that Riley, not to put the guy down or anything, but he doesn't really have the inclination, the time, or the skill to create a channel with the backdrop and all that sort of stuff. In fact, it's open. It's known that the other people created Riley's channels for him, and Jeff has created a lot of Riley's channels with the backdrops and all that. And so this video was uploaded last night. It was Riley's voice, and I was a little bit, let's say, just out of it. I was just sort of watching. I wasn't really paying attention, but it was the typical Riley yada yada rant about something. And then the camera moved to a toilet bowl with a turd, a actual real turd in the bowl, and the camera was on it. And this is disgusting. I tried to scroll down, look away, and see if there was any comments and stuff. And then as I was not looking, because I'm sorry, I don't want to stare at somebody else's turd. You could hear the toilet flush, and it had something to do with about flushing away the YouTubers, or I don't know what the point of it was, but it was disgusting. and which would fit into Jeff's MO. He probably told Jeff, I don't know, he told Riley to do this. I've never seen Riley do such a disgusting video like that, but probably he has. I don't know, but I know that Riley's not the one running that channel. All right, we say these things, but I know it's a fact or whatever. To be honest, I don't know. I don't actually have hard evidence. I don't have the smoking gun, but I think it's a very strong working theory. And what else was I going to say about that? I guess that's it. So, yeah. It was a good hoax. There was just this little bit in the very beginning when this Mary Beth Israel channel popped up. And so she lived in San Diego. And she was all like this, like marine biologist, musician. And I was all like, initially, and somebody even said, "Oh, she lives in San Diego, Dave," and I thought, well, even if it was true, I wouldn't approach her. She's just way too. And then after a bit, you kind of go, "This is too good to be true," And then it became obvious that the different videos and stuff or the pictures didn't match up, And other people, somebody else was very kind to send me some information about that channel. And she did her research, and she found where those other videos had come from on the internet, on YouTube. She located those and sent me the links. So it only confirmed my suspicion that it was a fake. And you know how Jeff is with that whole Jewish Israel thing. I mean, to me that was a red flag. And then yeah. Pretty funny though. You got really good reaction from some YouTubers, especially John's Wacky World. Oh, poor John. Oh my. Excuse me a moment. So, yeah, that was that. And then let's see. What else we got going on here? The Occupy Wall Street protest. I have to say, it's about time. We needed the counter movement to the Tea Party. And the Tea Party I see is mostly like ill-informed senior citizens, a reaction to a black president, just a general, and I mean it's anger on both sides, but one side is angry over how the country has changed. We're moving into the future, the whole immigrant problem, the notion that if I had more of my tax money, that the economy would do better. And I kind of talked about that last week, that where in history, where is it natural for the top people with all the wealth and the power to voluntarily distribute it? Sure, they'll put people to work for them, and especially if they have enough power, people have no choice. They'll have to work for them, and the person can pay them whatever they want. It's essentially a monopoly in a sense, as they have a monopoly on employment. And rarely, every now and then you'll have a benevolent king or a benevolent rich person that will do things for the poor. There were industrialists in England that had these social theories and were putting them into work. And one of them would build like a company town, and then they would finance a brass band and other things and then give the workers very nice quarters and build a school for the children. And this was all done because the person that owned the company was benevolent, had an idea, and it's a very smart idea, that a happy worker is a good worker. And but most of your industrialists, people like Henry Ford, people like that, they didn't think about that. They talk about how Henry Ford paid a really, really high wage, and he did, because what he found out was that these farm boys and stuff would come in to work in the factory, and it was just too monotonous and too hard and too much, and they would quit. He had a high turnaround, so he paid him a lot, but with this pay that he was giving them, they were like the people that the managers and stuff were like the Gestapo. I mean, I saw a documentary where they had this old worker where he was talking about they weren't allowed to smoke, and so they developed this ability. You ever seen how people do that trick where they have a cigarette butt on their lip, and then they go whoop, and they can pop it in their mouth and then whoop, pop it back out? You seen it where they flip it, it's still lit? Well, he said that's what they'd do. They'd go sit on the can, and they'd be like smoking a cigarette in the can, and the guy would come and like open the door and look in. So you'd have to be ready to go whoop, flip the cigarette in, flip the cigarette out. I mean, it's just one story. And sure, you could go, well, it's my factory, goddammit. I'm not going to let the workers, I don't want my workers here to smoke. But, I mean, they were micromanaged, watched like a hawk. There's no, it wasn't a fun place to work. Which, by the way, I like my new job. It's a much funner place to work than my old job because they don't micromanage and we're not watched like a hawk. There's a hell of a lot of rules, though. God, safety is such a big deal there, but there's a hell of a lot of safety rules. But I'm okay with that because it just makes sense to me because I'm a very safety-minded person. Still have all my fingers and my toes. Not that I've never been injured in my life. I had a hip fracture. That's the worst thing that ever happened to me. I ended up in a hospital and they put a pin in my thigh bone and hip joint, whatever you call it, the ball joint, area. That's from falling off a 10-speed. I was riding at night. Long story. I was going to say, yeah, so the Tea Party emerged, this idea that the small government, and basically when you look at a gathering of Tea Party people, you see a bunch of angry white people. Very, very few dark faces in there, and they're mostly all old people. I remember this really good one where, they were really against the healthcare issue. I mean, as far as healthcare reform, and there was this person really angry about stop the government handouts and taking our taxpayer money and spending it on the safety net and all that. And this person was a senior citizen, so obviously they were collecting Social Security and Medicare and all that, but they didn't see the connection. And that's what I'm saying. It's mostly like this ill-informed group. They're educated by Fox News, mostly. Yeah. Okay, that's my stereotype. Now, the opposition is more of a leftist thing, so it's like younger, more like hippy-dippy types, but later joining the protest were regular working type people. And I think the Tea Party's focus of anger just on the government is wrong. It's misplaced. I think the real anger, the real focus should be on Wall Street and the financial institutions. And that's what Occupy Wall Street is about. And I say, about time. And I hope this movement grows, and I hope it becomes a political force. Right now, it's a little bit doesn't have quite the focus that it should have, but that's how a grassroots movement starts, with just this general feeling of anger. And I hope some good leadership arises from this movement. And apparently there's even a gathering here in San Diego, Occupy San Diego. So, see, stick it to the man. You ever see that movie Fight Club? Where the whole goal is to destroy Wall Street and all the credit card companies and all that. I kind of like that. I like that idea. It's revolution, baby. What is the Tea Party revolution? They just want to get rid of our black president, right? Close the borders and make America safe for white people again. When you look at it overall, isn't that what it's about? Safe for white people and people of color that know how to behave themselves. None of that uppity stuff, right? Eileen told me that Jerry Brown signed a bill banning shark fin soup in California, which is great. What a waste, where they take a perfectly nice shark out of the ocean, cut his fin off, and throw him back in the water to die, And yeah, so that's good. And what do they call it? That Dream Act. But a lot of people are upset about he signed the Dream Act too, which is basically a a path to citizenship. I mean, for immigrants that have lived in this country for X amount of time. And a lot of it has to do with children who attended our schools and all that, and they were getting ready to go to college, and then the whole issue comes up. Well, you're not really a citizen, so you don't qualify for any of this, and blah blah blah. And me, being the soft-hearted liberal that I am, I'm like, hey, if they've got the chops to go to school, it can't hurt this country if we invest in somebody's education. I mean, I'd like to see more. I'd like to see them do that. I mean, anyway, there should be more of that for everyone, that the government investing in education, but not so much college, though. I think there became this notion that everybody's got to go to college. And so there's so many people that are in college or have graduated from college that really, that wasn't the best thing for them. I mean, it almost cheapened the college degree with all these people with college degrees. And we ended up having a shortage of people with skills, in manufacturing, welding, machinists, etc., construction workers, people that really know a craft. And a lot of these people that were probably have a aptitude for, a craft or some such thing like that, were pressured by society and their parents to go, get a college degree. You don't want to be like in manufacturing, la la la. But they don't understand. We can't. What is this country with a bunch of people with college degrees and nobody that can operate a crane or a forklift or something like that? And just because somebody decides to go into the trades doesn't make them stupid. It shouldn't be regarded as something that that's a low achieving sort of thing. I mean, we really do need to acknowledge the importance of the people that can turn wrenches, the people that can actually do things. And it's these white collar people with their soft hands that, oh, my garbage disposal backed up. So then they have to call this person that they look down their nose at to fix for them. I don't know. Power to the worker. Stick it to the man. Fucking executives on Wall Street. Blah, blah, blah. What else? This thing with the crackdown on marijuana dispensaries in California. And this is one of those classic American arguments about the power of state versus the power of the federal government. The individual states, the 50 states. A state passes its own rule that it can go from anything to like forced busing or forced integration. The federal government says there's a rule that says, no, you can't segregate children in schools. And so, but the state says, no, yes, we can. And then the feds go in and tell them not to. Which, as a liberal, I say, yeah. Well, those backward, state, forcing, segregating their populace, the government does need to interfere. And then we come with a situation with the dispensaries where California says, no, the dispensaries are good. And the federal government says, no, they're not good. We're gonna go and bust it out. And then I go the opposite. I go, oh, man, look at that, states' rights, man. Well, I'm not gonna cheer states' rights so much, but that we need to change the laws on a federal level. And it seemed like Obama was just doing more of a hands-off approach. And for whatever reason, he's getting pressure from somewhere. We did know the guy's a total pothead and coke fiend when he was in school, so it doesn't really bother him all that much. But he must be getting pressure from somebody else, and because we know Obama's really cool. He's a hip dude. I like those squares, like Spiro Agnew and Nixon and George Bush and and George W. Bush. They're all squares. John McCain, what a square. Who else? Who else is this? Oh, Gerald Ford. What a square. Reagan, the ultimate square. You know, I get a kick out of Reagan in his cowboy hat. That boy was born on the East Coast. He wasn't born in the West. He was an actor. It was a character that he put on, you know, just like he would change his clothes, you know. He put on this Western wear. Now I'm a man of the rugged West. No, he grew up like in the East Coast. He was a city boy. And he just pretended to be that. I don't know if John Wayne, I know John Wayne did the same thing, but I don't know. It just seems so right for him, though, didn't it? That whole cowboy thing. Anyway, a bunch of squares. John Wayne, he was a square too. So anyway, what was I saying about Obama and the crackdown? Yeah, I think it should be changed on state level, and it's actually made me think, like, should I gather up what little money I have and go and stock up before they're all completely shut down? Well, is that crazy man, that lunatic senior citizen said, the genie's out of the bottle, and I'll have to agree with him on that. But sometimes they try to shove the genie back in the bottle with, like prohibition, you know. I mean, alcohol was out and about. It had been for thousands of years, and then a bunch of lawmakers say, hey, we're going to make this illegal, you know, to the detriment of society. What was the other thing? You know, and there's this whole thing like, okay, like, you know, Obama's our man, you know, George W. Bush was their man, and, you know, and it's almost like your man can do no wrong. And I would have to say that if Bush would have done what Obama's doing with, and I don't know all the details, I just read a headline, but apparently there was a memo, and they were looking into the legality of killing a U.S. citizen. Now, when they say U.S. citizen, yeah, well, it's not, we're talking about regular John Q. U.S. citizen. He's a Muslim or something with terrorist ties who happens to be a U.S. citizen. And since he's a U.S. citizen, they should go through the regular, you know, legal things. You know, catch him, bring him in, you know, put him on trial. And apparently this memo in the Obama administration was questioning the legality, trying to find some sort of legal loophole to kill him. Now, I don't know, you know, like, and I apologize for not doing more research, but I just jotted something down. I'll leave that up to my audience. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know whether they actually killed this guy yet or not, okay? But if George W. Bush, it was a memo passing around like that, you know, I'd be like, oh man, the guy's a fascist, the guy's, you know, he's crazy, he's a lunatic. And I have to say, with Obama, that's wrong, you know? And I'm disappointed. There's a lot of stuff that Obama's doing that's very disappointing. But do you hear any appreciation from the right? Going, yeah, Obama, he's not as bad as we thought he was. He's cracking down on those marijuana clinics, you know? You know how much Republicans hate marijuana, you know? They hate it. Why anybody who smokes pot would vote Republican, I don't know, you know? Doesn't make sense. And then there's the Republican hypocrites that are all like smoking, you know, hiding it, and then they're all like, fuck no, man, fuck, vote down on those marijuana laws, bunch of goddamn hippies, but they secretly are smoking it. Probably because they're dealing it. They don't want it to be illegal. It's all about the money for the GOP and the conservatives, isn't it? There's even no appreciation for art unless they look at the monetary value, you know. That's all, you know. And so anyway, yeah, I lost my train of thought as usual. But yeah, do we get any? Does the right give Obama any credit for that? For doing, you know, shitty, underhanded, right-wing sort of things, like plotting to kill a U.S. citizen, or cracking down on marijuana clinics in California, or you know, killing Osama bin Laden, you know. But do you hear much from the right going, oh yeah, it's not so bad at all? They're all calling him like this crazy, you know, leftist, you know, crazy leftist, you know. and the country's going to go to hell in a basket. The guy's so moderate. He's not some crazy leftist. He's very, very moderate, but the right will not recognize that because he's black. It scares the shit out of him. Yeah. I was going to say, there was something else. Oh, yeah. And this comparing, oh, did you see, oh, I almost forgot about this. Did you see that clip of that, what's that guy's name? Hank Williams Jr. Is that right? Am I getting it right? He was on Fox and Friends or something. I saw a clip on YouTube. What a friggin' idiot. What a friggin' idiot. I mean, you have to look it up. It's like this guy, the way he was behaving on camera. And what's so scary is that there's a lot of Americans, especially in the Tea Party, that are going to go, yeah, you tell him, Hank Williams Jr. Such an idiot. Talk about a blowhard and an idiot. And even the people on Fox and Friends were like going, oh, I don't know. I can't believe this guy. Once again, the comparing of Obama to Hitler. And these people are so stupid. Okay, make up your mind. Even, is Obama an extreme leftist? Or is he a Nazi? Which is the opposite. To be a Nazi is not to be a leftist. Okay? It's not. It's not the same thing. People need to get an education. Hank Williams Jr., it's too late for him. He's just a friggin' idiot. I remember a long time ago, I worked with a guy that was a country music fan. Hank Williams Jr. has this song. It's called If the South Would Have Won, We'd Had It Made. Oh, by the way, there's this great documentary floating around. And I think it was produced by Spike Jones. Who's the guy? I can't remember his name now. Spike Lee. And it's a sort of tongue-in-cheek documentary about parallel history. What would it have been like if the South would have won the war? And what's real and it's based on there's human historic characters, except, that are involved in the Civil War. But instead of things going bad for them, it actually goes well. And one of the ironic things about one of the key people that helped the Confederacy fight their war, and this is a true person, actual person that lived. He was a man that negotiated with England to get financing to fight the war because, the South was using British money and British help to fight the North. The guy who orchestrated that was a Jew. Go figure, huh? They hate Jews in the South, right? Oh, except for Miami. It's ironic. And in it, the program's very interesting because they have this modern equivalent of these TV ads. And they have these really, really racist commercials with these two little black girls called the Sparkle Twins for some cleanser and some sort of like Sambo motor oil or something like that. I can't remember all of it. But then later they explain at the end of it, these were products that really did exist. And we still have some of them today. Uncle Ben's Rice and Aunt Jemima, two examples. Is Mrs. Butterworth black? I think she is, isn't she? So that would be another example. Anyway. Yeah. It's very scattered, discordant, typical Fez Night. I rolled this ciggy. I'll save it for later. I guess that's it. All right, well, worst Fez Night ever. Who cares? Next week, maybe I'll take a break from it. I don't know. Jeff Davis and Mary Beth Israel. Good one, hardy har har. But you gotta admit, come on, you're being pretty creepy. And the idea of posting that video on that channel, oh God, flushing a turd down the toilet, that was disgusting. Disgusting. I don't really see it as even being funny. It's just disgusting. All right. I want to say something else, but I guess I'm done. All right, everybody. Have a great week. The Citizen Kong. Thank you for watching. In a word, Fez. Cheers.